He approached the biker bar with a heaviness in his chest he couldn't explain. The leather-scented air, the roar of engines, and the laughter spilling out of the neon-lit doors felt like another world to him, a world he didn't belong to. But desperation, raw and gnawing, had a way of erasing dignity, and tonight, dignity was a luxury he could no longer afford. He was just a boy, barely 12, but the world had forced him into a man's shoes too early. His eyes were hollow, but they carried a fierceness that only hunger and fear could carve. He carried a battered bicycle, its frame scratched and worn, with a single note clutched tightly in his hand. "Buy my bike, sir. Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days." The words had cost him everything to write, because even a plea this stark felt like begging for scraps. The bikers at the bar noticed him immediately. There was something raw in his stance, something that didn't quite fit with the usual people who wandered in looking for trouble or a story to brag about. He stepped closer, voice trembling but unwavering. Sir, please, can you buy my bike?" Laughter erupted at first, the kind that made his stomach twist, but it wasn't cruel. It was amused surprise. The leader, a man with a scar across his temple and eyes that had seen too much, leaned forward. "Your bike?" he asked, voice rough but calm. "Why? What's the story, kid?" The boy swallowed hard, fighting the lump in his throat that had been growing for days. He whispered the truth, the words spilling out like water breaking through a dam. "Mommy, she hasn't eaten in 2 days. Everything we had, they took it. Please. I need money, just enough for food, please." The room went quiet, and in that silence, the weight of the boy's words sank deep. The laughter vanished, replaced by a tense stillness, the kind that happens when someone tells the truth too painful to ignore. The leader's eyes softened, a flicker of something almost forgotten passing through them. He motioned for the boy to come closer, and for the first time, no one laughed at him. He held out his hand to inspect the bicycle, but the boy flinched slightly. He didn't trust easily anymore. The man didn't seem to notice, only nodding slowly. "It's yours," he said. "We'll buy it. But tell me, who did this to her?" The boy's lips trembled as he told the story. They were people he had trusted once, neighbors, friends, even distant relatives, who had taken everything, money, food, even blankets. They had promised help, then turned cruel, leaving him and his mother to survive on hope and scraps. His voice cracked with each word, the weight of betrayal making him shiver. "I don't know why they did it. They said we were worthless, that we didn't deserve anything." The leader's jaw tightened. A low, almost inaudible growl came from somewhere deep in him. Around the table, the bikers exchanged glances, the quiet understanding of men who had seen pain and injustice written on someone's face before. The boy was small, but his courage, his love for his mother, struck them harder than any fight they had been in. One of the bikers, a tall man with tattooed arms, knelt to meet the boy's eyes. How long has it been like this?" he asked. 2 days, no, 3, the boy murmured, tears threatening to spill. "Mommy says, she'll be okay, but, she's so tired. She doesn't even complain anymore, she just sits there and looks at me." His voice broke, and he looked away, ashamed. The leader leaned back, running a hand across his face. He remembered nights like these, nights when his stomach had been empty, when fear had clawed at him until he didn't know how to breathe. And he saw himself in the boy, though the boy's eyes carried something he had long lost, hope that someone would care. "Listen," the leader said finally, voice gentle but firm. "You don't need to worry about food tonight. Not tonight, and not ever again while we're here. We'll take care of your mom." The boy shook his head, disbelief etched in every line of his small face. I can't let you do that. I need a little, just some money for food, that's all." "You've done enough," the man said. "Trying to survive on nothing is more than anyone should endure. We'll do the rest." And they did. Not with charity, not with pity, but with a fierce determination that only those who had faced the cruelty of the world themselves could muster. They bought the boy's bike for more than it was worth. They loaded up bags of food, enough to last weeks, and handed them to him. And when he protested, saying it wasn't fair, they simply shook their heads. Life isn't fair, one said softly, but that doesn't mean we can't make it right, even for a little while. The boy ran home, the bags heavy in his hands, but his heart light for the first time in days. His mother was sitting at the table, face pale, eyes hollow with hunger and worry. When she saw him, she gasped. You bought food?" He shook his head, tears streaming freely now. "Not me, them. The bikers, they said we don't have to be hungry anymore." Her hands trembled as she took the bags, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled. A real smile, one that had nothing to do with pretending and everything to do with relief. "God, thank you, thank you." Her voice was shaky, but it carried gratitude so deep it seemed to fill the entire small apartment. The boy hugged her, pressing her frail frame close. He could feel the tension in her shoulders melt, the exhaustion in her body lighten. "Mommy, it's okay now. We're safe. We're going to be okay." That night, as they sat together, eating and talking quietly, he realized something profound. He had believed the world was cruel, that kindness was reserved for people who deserved it. But here were these bikers, rough men with scars and bad reputations, proving him wrong. They had seen his suffering, and without judgment, without asking for repayment, they had given him hope. Over the next few days, they visited again, bringing more than just food. Clothes, blankets, even small tokens of comfort that made life feel normal for the first time in what felt like forever. The boy watched them with wide eyes, trying to memorize everything, the way they laughed, the way they carried themselves, the kindness that hid beneath their hardened exteriors. It wasn't just material help they gave, it was validation. It was proof that someone saw him, saw his mother, and didn't turn away. They didn't just restore his stomach, they restored his spirit. And then came the day when the boy realized he didn't have to hide anymore. He could go outside, talk to neighbors, walk down the street without the weight of hunger pressing against his chest. The world was still harsh, still full of people who would take advantage if they could, but he had learned something invaluable. There were also people who fought for justice in quiet ways, people who used their strength to lift others instead of crush them. Months passed. The boy grew stronger, not just physically but emotionally. He learned to ride his new bike with confidence, racing down streets that had once seemed unwelcoming. His mother regained her strength, and together they built a life where fear and hunger no longer dictated their days. The bikers didn't linger, they never had to. Their work was done, and they didn't seek gratitude or praise. But the boy remembered them, every detail, the scar on the leader's temple, the tattoos on the tall man's arms, the quiet strength that radiated from all of them. They had taken nothing but given everything, and in doing so, they had changed 2 lives forever. Years later, when he looked back, he understood the depth of what had happened. It wasn't just about food or money, it was about being seen, about being valued when the world had told him he wasn't. That lesson, carved into his heart, became the compass by which he lived, to help those who had nothing, to fight for the forgotten, and to never underestimate the power of unexpected kindness. And though he never saw them again, the memory of that night, the kindness of strangers who looked like outlaws but acted like angels, stayed with him. Every time he passed a biker on the road, he smiled, knowing that somewhere out there, courage and compassion could come in the most unlikely forms. The world had taken so much from them once, but that night had proven something greater. There were still warriors for the broken, defenders for the hungry, and hope for those who had none. And in the heart of a small boy and his mother, hope burned brighter than it ever had before.